The lure of global e-commerce is appealing, but can it be profitable? Today I'm talking with Craig Reed, the Vice President of Global E-commerce for Pitney Bowes, about getting your e-commerce business ready for international customers. Hey Craig, welcome to the Google Hangout.
Thanks, Tim. Good to be here.
Craig, nearly 3/4 of the respondents to our MCM Outlook 2014 survey said their e-commerce sites are not set up for international customers. Why do retailers need to have their sites set up for the global consumer?
Well, I think it's really a matter of opportunity. There's a lot of global demand for e-commerce goods, especially cross-border goods, and we've seen a lot of growth in demand. It used to be that the demand would come from countries like Canada, UK, Australia, but we're seeing a lot of demand coming from countries like Brazil, Russia, and other developing markets. So I think merchants really need to pay attention to that if they want to maximize their business results. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of growth available in those markets if they can reach them.
Craig, global expansion does make sense for some sectors of retail, but not for others. What types of e-commerce businesses should consider expanding abroad?
I think, it used to be the case where it was pretty limited, but I think the scope of what we can do to get goods internationally is continuing to expand. If you're selling furniture, you're probably not really in a good spot for e-commerce. But beyond that, it's really expanded to where anything under the 150-pound mark. Typically with global e-commerce, it's under the 66-pound mark, but we've seen that starting to creep up. We can get goods pretty much anywhere and a lot of different categories that typically hadn't shipped. But that said, it's still, you're going to have a skew towards your higher value, smaller goods naturally because the proportion of shipping costs to global or to the value of the good is going to be a little lower.
Craig, of those merchants who told us that they're ready for global customers, more than a third said it's because their sites offer international payment options. Does that alone really mean that they're ready for global customers?
No. Just payment, and I'm speaking as a global customer actually, this is the experience that I've had. The ability to accept payment is one part of it, but the ability to speak to a customer in their language, and by that I mean tell them how much it's going to cost. What are the implications of buying that good? You need transparency. You need to know how much it's going to cost to get that good to your buyers, and you have to inform your buyers of that in advance. And then you have to follow through on that. So lock it in, make sure that they don't pay anymore, they don't have any bad experiences with CODs, with cash on delivery payments, that they have good tracking experiences, that they get the goods in a reasonable time. So there's some core elements that we see that are really important, and it's really around that transparency. It's about getting goods in a reasonable time frame and at a reasonable cost, and that's what we really try to concentrate on.
Craig, more than 40% of MCM Outlook 2014 respondents said they market to global customers by way of online marketplaces, and 1/3 said they offer international versions of their websites.
Right.
How should one determine the best method of entry into international waters?
Well, I think a marketplace is a great way to get into the international marketplace and or into the international waters, and we see that with our partnership with eBay. We have a lot of merchants that we come across who start selling on eBay, who start using eBay's GSP program that we work with them on. And it really is a turnkey solution. They don't have to do anything to their websites. They can sell on eBay. They can get that experience, start building a global customer base, and that often translates into an opportunity to sell to sell to consumers from their own website, from their own .com website, and to help them out with that. So we see it as a transition. It's really kind of a progression of how merchants want to get into the business. That said, there's a lot of merchants who know that they have a big opportunity globally because they get a lot of international traffic on their sites, and they may want to, based on the strength of that, move right into providing international services. So I see a bit of both. It depends a little bit on the scale and the life cycle of the merchant, how much demand they're seeing on their own website, whether they're able to track that demand, if they can see the countries it's coming from. So I do see a bit of both. I think it's a marketplace is a great entry model, but there's also that segment of merchants who are ready to go in full bore because they know the opportunities there.
Craig, almost all of the MCM Outlook 2014 respondents told us that they are selling to customers in Canada, and that obviously should not be much of a surprise. What I thought was a surprise is more than half said they're selling in Australia. Why is Australia such a hotbed for US-based retailers?
Primarily because of there's two things. There's availability in the local market, and there's also a very high duty and tax threshold in Australia. It's 1,000 Australian dollars. So that makes it, compared to a domestic purchase, it makes it very attractive, even with the shipping costs. And for us that are in the industry who are providing services to Australia, the amount of volume, we're really driving the cost out of that corridor. So you're getting to a point where the cost of delivery relative to what they can get in the domestic market makes it a very attractive value proposition. So we've seen the same thing where Australian volume has grown considerably.
Craig, one country we've heard a lot of buzz about is China, but just 1/3 of the MCM Outlook 24 respondents said they're doing business there. Are there barriers of entry that are keeping U.S. retailers from going there?
Yeah, China's a tough market. Getting into China, distributing within China, dealing with Chinese customs and regulations is very challenging. We've spent some time in that market as well, and I think that that's primarily why is there's a lot of opportunity there, but there are significant challenges, and that's why our advice to merchants is to look for service providers that can help them out with that complexity. And another complex market is Russia, for example, and we've had experiences where Russian customs has changed their regulations overnight, and we specialize in that, so we're able to adapt to that. But a lot of merchants may not be able to do that. They may not be equipped to do that. So I think it's a similar situation in China where there's just a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of gray area, and there's ways to do things and ways not to do things. And in many cases where there's a lot of complexity and uncertainty, I think you'll see the merchants are a little reluctant to try to take that on themselves. So again, that's where I think it makes sense to look to somebody who really knows how to do that market.
Craig, let's talk about global shipping. The vast majority of MCM Outlook 2014 respondents said they use a US-based carrier to ship overseas. So for instance, UPS, FedEx, the USPS. Is this the most cost-effective way to go, or are there other services retailers need to consider?
It depends on the market. And, in general, what we find is that we try to work with the best service providers in each market. So we look at the most cost-effective route to get to a certain market, be it the UK, Singapore, Australia, Russia, etc., and identify the transit path, the providers in that transit path who can offer the combination of cost and quality of service that we believe merchants and their consumers are looking for. So I wouldn't say carte blanche that what we call the integrators, UPS, FedEx, and DHL are inapplicable. I think that it is very market specific, and again, I'll go back to my earlier comments around complexity. That's where things get complex. It's easy to hand off all of your international volume to one provider, but then you're really not optimizing your cost-quality matrix for all your markets. So that's what we try to do is look at each market and figure out what the best way is to enter those markets and take that layer of complexity away from the merchant and give them that cost and quality combination that they're looking for.
Craig, Pitney Bowes is sponsoring a webinar on July 17th called How to Achieve Profitability in Global E-Commerce. Tell us why multi-channel merchants readers need to register and attend the webinar.
Well, I think we've touched on a lot of the themes, Tim. It's the experiences we've had. I've been in this industry for 14 years. A lot of my team has as well. We've been there. We've seen it. We've been there and back again, I guess, as far as cross-border e-commerce goes. And I think that where you want to expand globally, you really need to listen to the experiences and the track record of people who've been there and have seen the different types of complexity, the different attempts to get into markets that folks have tried, and in some cases succeeded, in some cases had difficulties. So that's what we'll try to do, is really highlight those areas of complexity, how you need to solve it, and what you can do to make your business successful. So I think it's really about maximizing your business results and giving your consumers worldwide a great experience.
Excellent. Craig, we're looking forward to the webinar on July 17th. And thank you so much for spending time with us in the Google Hangout today, and have a great day.
Great. Thanks, Tim.